Election denialism is a thing. It primarily relates to former President Trump refusing to accept the 2020 election results, claiming mass fraud and insisting that he actually won the election that he lost. But looking back is far less significant than looking forward. It's frightening. The New York Times recently asked candidates of both parties in 20 significant races in the coming midterms and found 6 candidates who would not commit to accepting the future results. They said among the party's Senate candidates, Ted Budd in North Carolina, Blake Masters in Arizona, Kelly Chibaka in Alaska, J.D. Vance in Ohio all declined to commit to accepting the 2022 results. So did Tudor Nixon, the Republican nominee for governor of Michigan, Jeff Deal, who won the GOP primary for governor of Massachusetts. Now, they're all Republicans, and one of the common responses is this one.
Reminder, Brian Kemp stole the gubernatorial election from Georgians and Stacey Abrams. Democrats saying that. Is that an election denier? It would be difficult for Stacey Abrams to win because she lost her state bid, but yet she's still claiming she never lost.
Of course, that's Carrie Lake calling out Stacey Abrams, and that's a common theme from many on the right, and they have a point.
And I think for Stacey Abrams, who is the original election denier, is really, I think, getting the pushback.
And Stacey Abrams not accepting institutions like the result of an election.
I've never denied an election, ever. I've never said an election. I'm not like Stacey Abrams in Georgia that denied her election. I've never denied an election.
Now, it is fair to ask about Stacey Abrams, since in 2018, after she lost to Brian Kemp for governor of Georgia, she refused to concede, claiming supposed voter suppression made the election improper. It was and continues to be a dumb and dangerous thing to say. And by the way, it was also wrong for a handful of Democrats to refuse to certify Donald Trump's election in 2016. But let's be clear. Foolishly claiming an election was improper, even illegitimate, isn't the same as refusing to accept the results. One undermines faith in elections. The other is a true threat to our democratic voting system. So it's important to review what Abrams actually said and didn't say and did and didn't do to evaluate the comparison. Here's what Stacey Abrams said after losing her race for governor in 2018. She definitely refused to concede.
But to watch an elected official who claims to represent the people in this state baldly pin his hopes for election on the suppression of the people's democratic right to vote has been truly appalling. So let's be clear. This is not a speech of concession. Because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. As a woman of conscience and faith, I cannot concede that. But my assessment is the law currently allows no further viable remedy.
All right. The end was important, and that part of her non-concession speech has made the rounds as evidence that she is an election denier, just like Donald Trump. Except that clip omits what she said just before that.
I acknowledge that former Secretary of State Brian Kemp will be certified as the victor in the 2018 gubernatorial election.
That is a critical distinction. She later tried to explain away her refusal to concede. In an interview with the website The 19th, she said, quote, "My point was that the access to the election was flawed, and I refused to concede a system that permits citizens to be denied access. That is very different than someone claiming a fraudulent outcome." Well, it's not quite as different as she claims, but bottom line, she should have just admitted she was wrong, because it was wrong not to concede. She lost. But she did acknowledge that Kemp won, which Donald Trump has refused to admit to this day. And that's a critical difference. More recently, a clip from a 2019 speech she gave to Al Sharpton's National Action Committee made the rounds among those who want to make the comparison.
We had this little election back in 2018, and despite the final tally and the inauguration and the situation we find ourselves in, I do have one very affirmative statement to make. We won.
We won. Now, that sure sounds comparable, right? Except when you watch the rest of the speech, she makes it clear she was taking a moral victory for the benefits of her campaign, like engaging the community of black voters, and not saying she actually won the election. Last month, she appeared on The View and was asked about that.
There's this clip that's going around, and it shows me saying that we won. And what I was referring to was that we won in terms of communities that were long left out of the electoral process,
Right.
finally participated in 18 at outstanding numbers.
Right.
But I'm not delusional, so just so that's clear. I mean, I gave a speech. I love words. Words matter. They have meaning and heft. And one is, I'm not the governor. Said that.
Yeah, but words do matter. And what she said, I still believe was condemnable. But it's also different than what we are seeing, particularly heading into 2022, with candidates simply refusing to say they will accept the voters' choice. Too many of the radical election deniers still refuse to admit that Joe Biden won the election at all. For example, Arizona gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake has continued to insist that the 2020 general election was rigged, parroting the ongoing baseless claims made by the former president. Now, she's clearly leaving open the real possibility of refusing to accept the results if she loses in November.
My question is, will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election, and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election, and I will accept that result.
Stacey Abrams has committed to accepting the results of the election, in which she now finds herself down in the polls, and therein lies the difference between the two candidates. Vote for who you think best reflects your views. And after any legal challenges or recounts, whoever gets fewer votes has to concede. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.